Welcome back. It's the final week of the SCL. We're going to be starting things off with North America. We already have Most Wanted qualified for land, but Soar actually, still in contention here. We're going to be seeing both of them face off there against different opponents today. More than likely going to come down to that Monday night matchup, though, between the two.
Right now, Eager does have that one-game lead. Looking at the standings currently, Eager is currently number 2 with an 11-5 record. Soar right behind at 10-6. So those two teams are battling for that second spot, as Most Wanted have secured that first seed last week.
And yeah, so Eager and Kingdom going to be facing off first here. You know, we can expect it to. We'll see how it kind of really reigns out there. Kingdom have kind of found some footing near the end of the split, found themselves 2 wins, but they haven't always been clean. They have some potential here to maybe find an upset on Eager, but really it's about Soar in that Elevate game later on. A single win for Soar means it is going to come down to that Monday night Smite match where a 2-0 from Soar over Eager will result in them being the final team heading to land.
That's because Soar does have that head-to-head record against Eager. They did get a victory about week 2 or 3, a 2-0 victory. So very important for Soar to get at least 1 win against Elevate.
But for the first match, it's going to be Eager. So Eager have been looking solid, right? We don't really see them make any mistakes or massive mistakes. They're always in it here. They're going to be heading up against Kingdom, like we said, who have been struggling to find kind of some wins at all. They have 2.
And their roster is also struggling every now and then. The first week that these two teams played against each other, they had a different roster completely.
Yes.
Eager was able to sweep Kingdom in a 2-0 very quickly, 25-minute mark. Their roster the first week was Car in the solo lane, Tsmall, Lake Nader, Toasty, support, and Catalyyyst for the Hunter.
Yeah, so they've had some massive switch-ups here, but we're going to be getting into game 1 here shortly, and predictions for this one. Do you think Kingdom have any hope of finding at least 1 upset win?
Against Eager, I don't really realistically see this happening for Kingdom currently. They're still struggling to go through their rosters, changes that they've done throughout the split currently, and their 2 wins is just not going to be enough against Eager.
Funny enough, though, Soar is actually praying for Kingdom to find 1 game, because if they find 1 game and Soar manage to 2-0 Elevate, then their records will be tied heading into that final week, which means they only need a single game victory instead of having to sweep them. So Soar crossing their fingers for Kingdom today. We're going to see how they do up against Eager in game 1. And I'm really excited. This LAN going to be coming up here, the SCL Summer Finals, August, I believe, 19th and 20th, or 20th and 21st, that weekend after Epsilon Invitational. And I really can't even call who's going to win that.
It's surprising because normally at the beginning of the split, we would think that it would be Eager and Soar that would be heading to the LAN, but then Most Wanted just came out of nowhere with such a strong, dominant performance at 16-2 already.
It's actually been crazy. And they've improved too, right? They got off obviously swinging, held first basically the entirety so far of the split. And their roster, their team, has only gotten better.
Yeah, they have not made any changes. I don't think they've even had a substitute. They've been consistently being able to play with the same roster for every single week, whereas some teams had to make some changes, some teams even having to forfeit, unfortunately, because they weren't able to field the roster, such as Soar. They're shooting themselves in the foot from the last week, which could come back and bite them if Eager wins that 1 game against Soar.
Well, we're into picks and bans we go. Fafnir, he's readily available for competitive play. He's going to be first pick. Kingdom also have banned away the Guan Yu Robin, and then Ao Kwang Susano. Junglers taken out by Eager, but Fafnir first pick.
That's interesting style for Kingdom. Maybe they are expecting Eager to pick this up and they didn't want to deal with the Fafnir. Now, with the Fafnir in your support position, what you want to do is get this late game hyper carry potential. Either a Chronos or a Freya would synergize the most efficiently with the Fafnir, as well as maybe a Hunter into the mid lane for those Gold Fury objectives.
Yeah, what we're really seeing Fafnir used for so far, I mean, he's only been in competitive play for a short while, has been that coerce, right? Especially when you're in that dragon form, just the AoE massive just attack speed buff. It really can't be matched so far. Eager, they're going to pick up Ratotoskr and Bacchus as well, so a fair amount of burst from them.
Great support option for Eager. Gonna have Jellly picking up the Bacchus for the initiation, whereas Ratotoskr on Myflin. Normally, he would be playing the Susanoo, but this time around, Eager was the ones that banned it, which is very surprising.
Maybe a little bit worried about the first pick, possibly. Maybe didn't want it picked against them, but Kingdom Esports, no Susanoo, no Rat. They're actually going to go with the Nemesis and some globals by Neith there.
It's a nice combination currently that Kingdom has. Whoever Nemesis goes on, whether it's in the mid lane or soul lane, that Neith will definitely synergize very well with the World Weaver. Unless that's going to be a Neith in the mid lane, still don't really know. It could be a
Possibly.
flex.
Do you think with Golden Bow gone, you think we're going to start to see Neith kind of creep back into the mid lane? Once it came in, she kind of died off from that.
With Transcendence, Neith favors very heavily in the hunter position now. Having those abilities, it also synergizes very well with her scaling for the World Weaver, and that allows the Nemesis to ping-pong into any lane that she wants to for an easy gank.
Well, Chronos has been selected by Eager. Still not exactly sure where that's going to go. We know AirCougar likes to dabble in it, in addition to their mid laner as well, and I guess it is going to be mid, because Xbalanque was left open.
Xbalanque going to get locked in for Eager, so it's going to be Chronos and Xbalanque. Going to have the Chronos middle for Delta Marine. Normally he would be playing the Scylla in this position. He's very heavily favoring it, but with Ratotoskr specifically, you're trying to look for damage potential output. There's not much setup for the Scylla, so I like this pickup by Chronos.
Well, Kingdom Esports here trying to round up their lineup. They got Tyr for the soul lane, although he is going to be counterpicked there by Eager in the last spot, and they're also looking for potentially a mid, potentially a hunter. And I actually really like that Chronos pickup specifically because you do have to worry about kind of the auto attacks, and there is still one other mage auto attacker left open. Actually two. Soul wasn't picked, but Freya.
Taking that option away from Kingdom leads them into the Freya option. That's one of the highest late game mage bursts that you can pick up for Kingdom. So if they can make it to this late game about 25 minute mark or later, this Fafnir Freya should synergize very well.
I have a question, because I haven't played this yet or really seen it played. Freya Fafnir lane. Obviously, you have that attack speed increase with the Coerce. How much does that affect her lane clear? Have you really seen too much about that? Because this is really the first time we're starting to see Fafnir in competitive.
It's not going to help her lane clear that early on, up until she gets to Fatalis anyway. But in terms of looking for poke, that Fafnir could really set up Freya for a lot of easy shots.
Do you think? I mean, we'll probably see the Coerce maxed, right?
Yeah, we should definitely see it, absolutely.
Well, looks like Kingdom here just going to be warding, maybe looking for a pick, but no, it's just warding. And Reacher, one of the newer additions to Kingdom, we've really started to see him come into his own. Same with Despair on this Hunter. I actually really like Despair, what I've seen from him the past couple weeks. We're definitely seeing this guy be kind of the hyper carry for Kingdom, someone they can always rely on. His Ullr plays specifically are at an incredibly high level.
I think that was his first game that he was shown into the SCL specifically. So yeah, having a dominant performance on the Ullr, and now mixing things up a little bit with the Freya should be interesting to see if his style can adapt to this. Now looking at the relics already, we do have
the shenanigans.
Myflin with the shenanigans.
The shenanigans.
Picking up the Wrath on the jungler. Now we've seen Wrath before, but most of the time it's been on the supports where they're trying to secure those objectives, maybe look for an invade on the red buff as well. But this should give the Ratotoskr a lot of options for aggressive speed buff invades as well.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, right, when you look at Kingdom's composition, because they don't really have any guaranteed hard CC outside of the whoop from Freya, but you're kind of off on your own. You're not going to, get damaged in the middle of it. And Tyr's Fearless, right? Obviously, there's slows from Nemesis and a root from Neith, but those can all be countered without purification.
That's true, and as long as you're being very aggressive, you can also look for a stun with that Wrath, trying to set up a little bit more damage.
Well, there is a Sanctuary actually picked up for the Nemesis as well, so he doesn't seem too worried about being CC'd on his end, but there is a fair amount when you look at Eager's lineup here. Laning phase, though, doesn't seem like anyone's doing anything too crazy early on. Reacher and Despair seem to have lane control, which is always good for a Freya, because typically she's getting bullied.
Normally, we don't see a Freya being able to control the early laning phase this early on, but because Eager got to lane a little bit later on, this allowed Kingdom to outpush Eager for now.
I mean, you always have to be worried, right? If you let this Freya get to late game. Same with the Fafnir, Nemesis, and even Tyr does pretty well. Would you expect to see Eager kind of look to force anything early, or with their Chronos Xbalanque, are they also looking kind of for that late game?
They should definitely force something onto the dual lane. You don't want to get Freya uncontested in the laning phase. You have the Neith in the mid lane that can easily synergize with an early gank. And I like what Jellly did earlier by belly flopping the Freya during the pulse. It limits her potential to clear not having those in hands.
And no real get out of jail free tool there for Despair either. He's got obviously his whoop, but that's going to be aimed, and there's only a shell on to Reacher, so no sprint, no meditation. That's going to guarantee to keep him alive in a lot of those sticky situations.
I like the shell pickup, trying to mitigate a lot of the damage over time from Eager's dual lane. You have the burp, you also have the poison dart, so by mitigating that, it's going to significantly reduce the total damage.
Look at Bacchus, man. Bacchus is so good. Bacchus is actually going to provide a lot of usefulness into this team comp, right? When you look at the Freya, right, she's, like you said, going to be limited, but also that back line, that Neith, it's going to be hard for her to kind of get into the engagement and hit those basics if she gets intoxicated.
And the strategy that Eager's currently trying to do is they didn't want to use the Bacchus belly flop or the burp to clear the wave. They want to specifically get Freya slowly whittled down, make her use these early potions now before the gank actually occurs.
Well, Catalyyyst is also going to be working on his Transcendence here, so probably not going to be looking to force anything too much, especially with that Nemesis. Myflin, Delta Marine, they've both hit level 5, so maybe an opportunity for Myflin to set up a gank, but it seems like he'll be playing safe. Just head over, control the fire elementals for now, and Eager, they found themselves with a slight gold lead, so a little bit more control in the camp so far. Nothing too crazy, though.
Kingdom is rotating in the dual lane. Eager's a little bit outpushed, but with the MIA call currently, they're going to back up, and very well timed as well. Tsmall wasting a lot of time. There's nothing really objectively for him to take, as those fire giant elementals do go in the way of Eager, so he's going to wait around currently for the gank with the Neith ultimate by his side.
Oh, this is not good, though, because his speed buff's going to be spawning. He spent a lot of time over here, and you can already see the rotation come in from Ratotoskr and the Chronos. Instead, they're going to be looking for the back harpies. It hasn't spawned just yet, but there it goes ticking away. Catalyyyst is going to be coming underneath, but I think this is going to be a stolen speed buff. No one can get here in time. No,
that's going to be confirmed, and Wrath not even necessary. The Nemesis ulti does confirm. Delta Marine forced to rewind right away, and he's going to be able to reset this team fight with a nice time stop onto Catalyyyst.
Needs to be a little bit careful, though. You can see Niqued making the rotation in, switches to Fearless Stance, looking for the knockup, but Delta Marine is going to be able to speed away. Now Myflin rotating in here, just going to dash away. So a stolen speed buff. Tsmall tried to set up that gank and just kind of got punished for it.
Tsmall, he had the right idea, but Eager, on top of it, they knew what his intention was, to utilize that Neith ultimate into the dual lane, because there's two purposes for that dual lane gank. You're trying to shut down Xbalanque, and you're trying to get your Freya ahead at the same time.
And this is, you know, kind of doubly bad. They also have their red buff stolen away because they spent so much time on the right-hand side, and Tsmall could be in a little bit of trouble. He's got the double dash still, but he had burned his ultimate, so just going to be going back, and now Eager starting to look real good, about a 600 gold lead.
And Freya forced to use the ultimate just to avoid that Bacchus belly flop. That would have done a lot of damage with the Intoxicate and the Poison Dart follow-up. So respecting that potential burst output, instantly ulting. I like this idea because now you're not using your Purification, which would be a longer cooldown anyway.
And also it opens up the opportunity to kind of gank Despair again. He's still got his Purification, but he doesn't have that, you know, I'm going to be taken out of play space. And Ratotoskr, he does have that semi-global. And it's kind of global, right? He can get really far.
It's a long distance.
That man just like, I'm pretty sure it used to be even longer too. At least in playtesting, I got to play him once and I was like going from solo to duo in like 3 seconds.
Was that a Dry Bear God?
Yes, it was. That was the original release, but he's been switched up since then. Made a little bit more streamlined and kind of easy to pick up, and he's been performing pretty well. We've only seen him a couple times in the SCL. I'm actually a little bit surprised we don't see him more often.
I think it's mostly because of the addition of Susanoo, that mobility. So the Ratotoskr obviously having a lot of mobility with his global, but Susanoo having a lot just of his passive alone.
And Dwurst there, a little bit of trouble in solo lane. He's actually a level down there, but even in gold, so he's fine. Niqued, though, could get some help. Tsmall making the rotation over, but he's right on top of a ward. And this could be really bad for him, because this could be 2 ganks that he's kind of wasted a lot of time trying to set up.
But currently, there's nothing really that's spawning if we look at all the buff respawns currently. So Dwurst just doing a good job hugging his tower line. Tsmall, the only thing he could be realistically doing is sharing that mid wave with the Guardian and the mid laner, but...
That's 3-way splitting.
Yeah, that's still not efficient anyway. So I like the idea of just making the rotation.
Oh, left-hand side, though, rotation. Ratotoskr trying to pick up Freya there. Despair, though, he's fine. He's at the edge of his tower, and he's got some rotations coming in, but Myflin's going to run into 3. He gets get rooted there, and he could have some follow-up from Fafnir, but he's just going to ult away, get onto his tree, and just play it safe for that one. Didn't want to risk, you know, trying to fight. His dash was down.
And what's beautiful about that is he still rotates to the mid lane, picking up that experience. So overall, trying to set up a gank on Freya, disengaging, still farming at the same time.
Oh, I must thought they were going to try and burn Gold Fury there. You could see the rotation, and they actually are going to draw Fafnir over as he's noticed that there's a couple members on that Gold Fury, and it actually seems like Delta Marine wants to force the fight. He's going to be looking for the slow, but he says, JK, I'm just going to wave clear.
Kingdom not taking advantage of...
That was a 3-on-2.
Yeah, that was a 3-on-2 that could have easily collapsed on that, but playing it really safe. You know, the Ratotoskr just used the ultimate in the duel lane, so he was nowhere to be around currently.
We have a Joust on left-hand side, though. AirCougar actually getting bodied real hard. The ultimate's online. I don't see AirCougar getting out from this, and Despair doesn't even need to burn his ultimate. I mean, AirCougar kind of just took it.
Delta Marine gonna fall to Reacher in the mid lane, gonna find a second kill onto Jellly. Now, even though those were two kills onto your Guardian. So trying to go off of these two picks, the Kingdom is gonna try to transition into the Gold Fury.
AirCougar, no ultimate online, so it was used at a previous engagement. Now Kingdom, they're gonna have this opportunity. Ratotoskr is rotating in, trying to contest, and Dwurst has made his way over as well. Gold Fury getting pretty low here, and now there has to be made actually a good route. Tsmall, he's taken out Myflin, and actually Kingdom have already secured the Gold Fury. Dwurst should be run down here, but his tether actually stuns 4 different people, and he actually is somehow going to be able to get away. The Xbalanque also going to help him out there just to make sure Kingdom can't chase him down, and Kingdom, they've got 4 kills and a Gold Fury now.
That's really nice that they have this little lead, and they're going to need this lead against Eager specifically. You give Eager any sort of momentum, they're going to run away with it. Now, it's really unfortunate that Myflin didn't have the Wrath available. It was about a 30 to 40 second cooldown going in there, and it seemed that Kingdom knew about this, and which is why they forced the Gold Fury, even though the Wrath might have been available.
Yeah, if the Wrath is up there, I mean, that's a stolen Gold Fury. And
instantly.
Maybe they got a little bit lucky. You know, it's kind of weird, like, do I want to give Kingdom the credit for that? But they only have 2 wins in the Pro League. You got to assume that's also a relatively long cooldown to keep track of, but we'll say they did.
I think the mid lane teamfight was just really solid for Kingdom because of the way the Fafnir utilized the ultimate to just synergize off of the Neith that was there, the Nemesis auto attack speed as well. It does a lot of damage with those in hands. So getting those 2 picks, and then obviously AirCougar getting soloed, unfortunately not respecting the Fatalis effect of a Freya, even though it is about level 8 or 9. You always have to respect Freya up until you as a hunter have a little bit of lifesteal.
Yeah, that was like a 1v1 that I was really surprised at, because I'm watching, I'm like, okay, AirCougar is going to back off there, but he actually tried to engage during the duration of Pulse instead of just waiting it out and then trying to re-engage, right? When Pulse is up, you really don't want to fight a Freya, and you can just wait that cooldown out a lot of time.
Especially you can just hide behind your archers. AirCougar did have 3 archers to his side. He could have just
juked in between.
I wouldn't fight in between. What I would do is I would position myself to the side where it's like, okay, you're either going to be hitting me or you're going to be hitting my archers either way.
Oh. Delta Marine should be fine here, but does take a decent amount of poke. Catalyyyst gets the backflip off. But he's actually run straight into Myflin, but he's not going to try and chase him down, just going to ult away because he was in the middle of 3. So once again, Myflin getting a little bit caught out, trying to make a play from underneath.
Eager forced to use 3 ultimates there just for the Neith, just for the Nemesis ulti in return. So little advantage for Kingdom. If they want to force this team fight, now they don't have to worry about Darkest of Nights, the Ratotoskr global presence, as well as the rewind from Delta Marine.
Yeah, I think the most important thing so far is that Kingdom kind of don't have the pressure on their buffs anymore. They were getting pretty heavily invaded at the start because Tsmall couldn't make anything, but there's the stun, and Delta Marine forced to Purify. He's just going to back up, but Catalyyyst looking to get counter-engaged. Jellly just going to knock him up for now. And it just seems like a lot of poke without a lot of confirmed kill potential.
It was great zoning by Jellly, making sure that there wasn't going to be any sort of follow-up onto Delta Marine, saving his life. Intoxicate a little bit too misguided there, but it is going to force Kingdom to back, which will allow Eager a little bit more control in the mid lane as Myflin does make the rotation back.
And, you know, no one really has burst on their team, right? No one really has that confirmed 100-0 burst. Catalyyyst going to be able to back up. Maybe it's Ratotoskr, right? And then Chronos is still kind of that wind-up character. He's not going to be able to 100-0 you in 2 seconds like, say, a Silicon. And a lot of the burst is, at least in early game, is going to be centered around Jellly and this Bacchus.
I was exactly about to make that point. The Bacchus belly flop would set up Myflin as well as Delta Marine, and that's what Eager's going to be looking for to get that early pick. Intoxicate does a lot of damage once you do have Shoes of the Magi.
Well, Kingdom here, this is what they've suffered at, or the situations they suffered at before, where they have a lead. And they actually get leads quite often. Their early game's really solid. The issue is they have trouble kind of transitioning that into further leads or even keeping it sometimes. They kind of just let the other teams do what they want and only seem to respond off of them.
So what Kingdom needs to do currently with Niqued being currently a level ahead, above of
It's
Dwurst.
Niqued, by the way.
I'm sorry?
It's Niqued.
Niqued.
I already had this conversation. That's not how you spell it.
Okay. Niqued. And especially being a tier that's one level ahead of an Osiris, you have more control into team fights with their... Ooh, Reacher getting a nice and quick kill onto Delta Marine. So Kingdom now have the option of either invading the speed buff or pushing the tier 1 mid tower, but gonna go into the dueling. Gold Fury is not responding though anytime soon.
Oh, it actually seems like Niqued is gonna try and steal away the speed buff, but Myflin, he's already secured it, but he could get poked out. Except when he dashes, and so he's fine. But it actually is going to be a red buff invade from Kingdom. They seem to be starting to pressure, and even on the right-hand side, Niqued by himself trying to secure this blue buff, and he is going to grab it, I think.
And there's 3 members from Eager on the side of the right side, and as a result, Kingdom, they also secure the red, putting that onto Despair. So great job overall, Kingdom, getting a pick and 2 buffs out of that pick.
Oh, well, they kind of let their own sentry go away here. Gold Fury going to be spawning shortly. They seem to be in position to maybe set something up, but they'll just back off for now. Fafnir going to be coming back in the lane, and really good abuse of Delta Marine there. His purification was down. They recognized it from before. And this Kingdom is actually starting to look decent, right? They didn't... Normally, they just kind of sit there and let, you know, Eager do whatever they want, but they're starting to invade and trying to set up some kills.
And I like this play by Niqued. He does have meditation, so he could be baiting Osiris very easily, even though he doesn't have much mana, as well as the blue buff on his side. And with teleport available, he wants to be a big bully, not allowing Dwurst to get any farm. With Gold Fury respawning, it looks like Eager might be the ones trying to force this.
They have the sentry, and they recognized all of Kingdom had backed.
Oh, no.
I mean, Despair's going to be walking over here, but there's no way he can secure this path to the rest. He could reset it with the banish,
Yeah,
though.
he has to whoop here.
He's got to go now, though. Oh, no, he's trying to fight instead. He's going to be looking for Jellly, but he actually gets stunned out by the Chronos. Eager did secure the Gold Fury, but they've lost Jellly in response, and now Reacher's here as well. The ultimate's out from Despair, and so is the Draconic Rage, but it doesn't seem like Eager are too inclined to fight there. They're just going to back off, and, I mean, they lost their support for a Gold Fury. They're screaming win. Definitely
Worth currently with Eager behind a little bit. Any sort of gold coming their way will cut that gap, especially you have the Wrath. You might as well force these objective fights. Kingdom can't really counteract that.
A little bit of trouble for Catalyyyst, but just taking some poke. Myflin doing a fair job of trying to poke people out when he can. Reacher going to cancel out his ult. Myflin just back under that mid lane. And actually a rotation coming out from AirCougar, and this isn't called as of yet.
No, not yet currently, but we do have a rotation from Niqued as well, trying to look for a potential play in the mid lane. Doesn't have Blink available, so forcing a team fight here with the meditation, you could bait out Reacher potentially, absorbing a lot of the cooldowns and then healing him back up.
One thing about Kingdom, too, is they don't really have a lot of hard engage on their team. Right? Like, Fafnir can kind of jump in, but it's not always the best engage, like, say, a Blink Cataclysm or, you know, a Dash Taunt or even a Bacchus Belly Flop.
If they had the Blink on Tier, it would be a way better initiation, but having Fafnir and a tier without Blink might hurt Kingdom in the later stages of the game.
Well, 5-man grouping from Kingdom, you could see both Despair and Niqued have made a rotation from their lanes, and Osiris and AirCougar are a little bit behind, but they're having a rough time, actually trying to set something up. And actually, here comes Nick. We're going to find Delta Marine into the wall. He's already done. The tether's out, just trying to reduce a lot of damage, and Jellly pops his ult just to get that Intoxicate off and force everyone out. Reacher still under tower, though, and it's only going to be the single pick, but Eager forced to use a lot of ults to get Kingdom out.
Beautiful pick currently from Niqued, finding the Lawbringer around the corner of the mid lane, not having the blink didn't even matter. The purification was used a little bit too late, and as a result, you weren't able to use your sanctuary. So that first pick going in the way of Kingdom, and now they recognize they can't really put pressure on this tier 1 mid tower, so they're just gonna go over, get this red buff, wait for the boards to respawn, maybe sneak in this dual lane tower because nobody from Eager are in position.
They also have Coerce from Reacher. It can only be used on one, but I mean they've got a full wave of minions. This is gonna be the first tower, and Eager are not actually eager to try and fight them. Instead, they're going to be split pushing on their own, stealing away the speed buff, and it seems like pressuring a tier 1 in the mid and the right-hand side.
The problem with this is if you're trying to base race against Kingdom, they have Fafnir. That's going to basically amplify the attack speed of anyone he chooses. Going to pop it onto Catalyyyst, allowing him to get those extra in-hands. With this teleport currently, this should be able to buy Eager enough time to defend this tier 2, get the tier 1 mid, and maybe get tier 1 on the right.
It actually could be re-engaged on here. Delta Marine doing a good job of juking out Despair, but another minion wave is here. And actually, Deltamarine going to miss his abilities on the wave, but it doesn't matter. Osiris is going to finish this off. So a tier 1 for 2 tier 1s in favor of Eager because of that split push. The rotation is on, though. Oh, there's the backflip from Catalyyyst, and Jellly already knows who he wants. Purification going to be forced. Same with Sanctuary, but he's still stunned out. Nemesis trying to counter-engage. Here comes Dragonic Rage, just trying to get up into his ultimate, but Catalyyyst has already been chased down.
Beautiful initiation by Dwurst, forcing a rewind out of Deltamarine. Jellly going to fall in response, but trading your life for it is definitely worth it, especially if you're able to take out Reacher in response.
He's not going to be able to survive this, but Despair is back in the fight, finds Deltamarine, and he's swinging away, but it's not enough damage, and his pulse is out. He's got to be forced to use his ultimate there, but he missed 2 shots of it.
2 shots of it, not even getting off the 4th one. Myflin rotating to capitalize on the 3rd pick, so overall, only losing Jellly. In response, you get 3 kills in return, and you're going to secure yourself the 3rd tier 1 tower for Eager.
I mean, Kingdom are up 8-3 in kills, but objectively, they just haven't been able to have that same control. They're going to lose their red buff as well if Myflin wants to counter that, but instead, he's going to be focusing on this tier 2. Teleports out, I believe, from Niqued, I think I see, and he's not going to be able to stop this in the middle of 4, and he's going to be stunned, and he could fall. He gets his heal off. His ultimate's going to be used as well, and now the Nemesis is rotated, but it's 1 at a time. They're all by themselves.
Trying to find the kill onto Deltamarine, and unfortunately, nobody in position to absorb that World Weaver, and as a result, finding the pick. Going to deter Eager away from this tier 2 tower, but the timing of those 3 deaths from Kingdom was just so unfortunate. We talked about, giving Eager any sort of wiggle room. They're going to take advantage of it, and those first 3 kills resulted in 3 tier 1 towers.
I mean, that's just kind of the mark of a more experienced team, right? They're like, we're not going to fight you on that tier 1. We're going to send Deltamarine there, then we're going to teleport in the Osiris after he's taken the tier 1 on right. They get 3 tier 1s. They also got that unprotected Gold Fury from Kingdom, and it's a dead even game when Kingdom should be far away ahead.
And right now, there's just not much going on with the Gold Fury. It's about to respawn in 30 seconds or so. We have a little bit of a boxing match between the fat Bacchus and
Dude, you can't box the fat man.
Nah, you can't.
Like, look at that belly, man. You're not gonna be doing any damage to him. You're just punching his gut. Look at him.
He's just absorbing it.
He's taking swords to his stomach, and he's fine.
You know what it is? The alcohol makes him numb.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You can do a lot while intoxicated. Jellly knows. And now Kingdom here. Trying to find another lead. Gold Fury has respawned, and they could still fight at the very least, but their speed buff's going to be stolen away by Myflin for, I think, the 3rd time this match.
Yeah, having to use the Ratotoskr ultimate just to disengage.
Oh, no.
Going to go back into mid lane after the speed buff invade, and with Catalyyyst being dead, it's going to be another advantage for Eager for finding that 4th kill at the right timing because Gold Fury has respawned.
That was a perfect bait from Myflin. He puts pressure on the speed, they rotate, and he finds Catalyyyst there alone by himself. Gold Fury going to be started. The Wrath is down, though, so Kingdom Esports has a chance, but they need to get in now. Instead, they're going to be focusing on Myflin, and he should die here, but he gets a meditation heal, still 1 health. Tsmall trying to find the basic, but he can't, and Jellly saves him with the knock-up. He's going to be able to get out on a rewind from Deltamarine. Now Eager on full retreat, Dwurst over the wall, trying to get away, and it's actually a girdle-popped AirCougar pushed into the wall. Niqued finds the first kill of the fight, and Despair chasing down Jellly. He's hitting almost every single basic, has the coerce, and it doesn't seem like he wants to continue the fight. He's going to be switching over to that Gold Fury.
Gold Fury was reset earlier on, trying to save Myflin's life. AirCougar had the aggro for it for quite a while and got poked out as a result. And now, with the pick onto AirCougar, it's going to be Kingdom trying to utilize this Fafnir to secure, but they're going to reset it.
Oh no, they need to get in now, and now it's actually Kingdom in a little bit of trouble. Tsmall on the front line for now. The team's already focused Myflin, and Despair eliminates him. Jellly finds the 3-man knockup, but it's just Despair running through everyone this game. Jellly very low, Intoxiate going to keep him alive for now, but Despair still finds the last hit. Trouble though for Niqued, able to kite around, get a heal off, and Despair switching targets. Dwurst into the wall here, the jump forward, and Kingdom should be able to clean this one up.
As long as Dwurst doesn't have his ultimate, there should be another kill with the root confirmed. That's 3 members dead currently for Eager, but a few members from Kingdom are very low. Niqued is low. He does have teleport available, so he's going to have to back and reset. 2 members are about half health, but nobody really from Eager in position to contest this.
And Kingdom here, they are going to find their second Gold Fury. A teleport coming in from Niqued to guarantee it, but AirCougar, he's actually managed to come here in time. Pops his sprint, but good zoning from Niqued. And there it is, about a 3K gold lead for Kingdom. It's been pretty hard fought. Still up 13-4 in kills, but only 3K ahead.
Because of those 3 tier 1 towers earlier on, that was so important for Eager to get those towers to mitigate these 2 gold fears currently from Kingdom. And the later this game goes, the more troublesome it's going to be because of this Freya late game with a Fafnir.
Yeah, we're already seeing her just shred through the team, and then that coerce pushed her to, I believe it's 3.7 attack speed. She's already got 12,000 damage, which you normally will see maybe towards the end of the game, her looking at the top of the charts, but I guess 20 minutes in, that makes a little bit of sense.
Especially with a Fafnir that's always going to be giving you the coerce.
How do you feel about that, though? Double ring build. Telekines and Demonic?
It's a little overkill, I would say, personally. I would like to see a Polynomicon instead of one of those rings, trying to get more burst damage online.
That's a possibility. Also, it seems to be working on the Rod of Tahuti for now, though. And Niqued still trying to take that tier 1 on right. He did a good job of controlling Dwurst early and still has a 2-level lead onto him. Has his bulwark online, so he's going to be able to survive that burst from the Chronos specifically now.
With full CDR, he can continue to put pressure onto the solo lane. The Osiris can't really do anything one-on-one against him. You do have a 3-level disparity between those two. So as long as he can force a rotation from anyone, then the rest of his team could put pressure on mid.
This is, we actually see Dwurst building into double physical protection, both breastplate and Hide of the Nemean, against a Freya. I mean, obviously there's still the Neith and the Nemesis who are going to be able to shred, protections, but is this a good pick? I don't know.
I would like to see Runic Shield later on, maybe. There's still a possibility there's 2 more slots available to him. So there is a rotation into the solo lane, like we mentioned, Myflin having to help out Dwurst a little bit as Niqued still going in, forcing the dash from Myflin.
And this pressure has forced, like you said, Myflin over here, which means there is a man advantage over in the right hand or in the middle lane. And Niqued's not even going to let them back. He should get a decent heal, but I mean, 2-on-1, I don't know if this is something he's going to be able to take. He should get stunned out by this tether in time, and the healing reduction is going to be good from the Osiris ult, and he will be killed finally. Maybe a little bit too aggressive there.
The problem was he used his Lawbringer earlier on in the engagement without it being close enough to find the kill. And meanwhile, the Frenzy being popped in the mid lane. Tier 1 tower does follow Reacher, trying to get off the stun onto Jellly for a lot of damage. And with it, that should be Jellly being dead. Despair doing a lot of damage, forcing the Sanctuary onto Chronos, but he died mid-air because of the poison darts.
That's so unfortunate for him. And now Kingdom, they're going to be forced back off of this. It was a 1-for-1 trade, but they lost their hyper carry in Despair in that Freya. And their tier 2 actually could be looked at. You can see Myflin. He doesn't want to let them back. Catalyyyst forced to hang around, and Reacher actually out of his ult time now, and AirCougar could look to pressure this along with Dwurst.
Doing a lot of damage onto AirCougar was Reacher, but he's forced to disengage currently. Dwurst tanking the tower a little bit. AirCougar going to have to get off some shots. Tier 2 tower not taking any damage currently. We do have good zoning currently from Reacher.
And yeah, I mean, Dwurst, he's level 19 though, so he's starting to get back into this one. He's going to be stunned for now, but Delta Marine is already back. He is going to find the follow-up, and Reacher going to have to jump away. And it seems like Eager have once again kind of neutralized the game. Still down that 3,000 though, but I mean at the 24-minute mark, that's really not too far.
Not at all. They're just buying time currently. But the only thing that Eager has to worry about, like we mentioned, is this late game from Freya and Fafnir. So they need to be able to find a way to force out these early relics and ultimate out of her, trying to make sure that she doesn't use this ultimate to confirm any kills.
I mean, it's got to be like, what, Myflin and Dwurst? One of them has to be dedicated to diving her in the backline with maybe Jellly, but then you kind of leave AirCougar alone, so it's interesting. You gotta probably dedicate someone. Would you say Dwurst or Myflin here would be better?
Well, looking at Dwurst's build, he's building into a Bulwark of Hope, already after building the Pestilence. So stacking up that health, stacking up the magical defense. I would like to see Runic Shield as well, if this is what he is going for indeed, trying to get Despair away from the team fight.
Yeah, that's gonna be very, very useful, but Fire Giant here just being warded up by Niqued for now. I don't think either team's really looking to force it. A little bit of poke going on in the mid lane. And Tsmall, he's only level 16, so I mean, all these engagements have been going on, but it's kind of hurt his farm. 25 minutes in, still not even close to level 20.
The problem, well, like, I would say that currently for the Nemesis, it's not that big of a deal being level 16 in this position. Myflin is currently level 18, but Nemesis still is very useful under-leveled. You just basically use your ultimate off cooldown, especially it being a 70-second base with a little bit of cooldown reduction.
25, yeah.
Making it so much shorter.
And that's probably just going to be that ult bot, right? Gone into a lot of utility with the Wing Blade and Void Shield as well, but Kingdom, they don't want to take their foot off the gas here. They're going to be pressuring this tier 2 on the right-hand side. We've seen them try and pressure 3 tier 2s. First it was the left, then it was the mid, now it's the right, but none of them have actually been successful, and we've seen Eager actually win the fights off of them.
This is going to be the first 5v5 straight-up engagement. Myflin's in, they are going to land on 3, forcing the Purification out of Despair, and the ult ultimate right away. He has nowhere to go. Everyone is waiting for him to land.
And look at that. He should be falling. His Sanctuary is going to be buying him a couple seconds, but Delta Marine has already taken out one, and that's 2 kills for Eager. The Nimalt comes out incredibly late, and Myflin's fine. He's just going to be kiting around. No worries for him. And Niqued getting chain CC'd by AirCougar. Delta Marine, he runs into the last basic so far. 3 for 0, unanswered for Kingdom, all off of Myflin's engagement.
Beautiful engagement. Like we mentioned, they have to worry about Despair, and that's exactly what Eager did. And as a result, now they're forcing out the Fire Giant, and Myflin at the same time forcing the speed buff. That multitasking is just going to show how well Eager are able to control these late game objectives.
And Eager finally starting to get things together for themselves. They're going to be evening up the gold, and Fire Giant in hand. They could start pressuring these tier 2s as well. Gold dead even right now. They've got about 1,000 in hand, so they really don't even need to back right now.
You still have a little bit of a window currently with Niqued being dead for 20 seconds. You just picked up Fire Giant. You have enough time to get this tier 2 tower uncontested. If anyone from Kingdom comes, they're surely going to die because all of their relics are currently down. You look at Despair with his Sanctuary and Purification at 90 seconds apiece.
That's real rough. Still doesn't have that Rod of Tahuti online either. And that's the problem we were kind of talking about. Like, if he can get, Dove on the back line, it was a good point from you. Forced to use those relics instantly, forced to ult as well because he still took a ton of damage, and then he was left kind of unprotected in the back line. But it's going to be the Gold Fury as well here, and it actually seems like the team has switched their attention to Fafnir, who decided to engage, but he's just going to back off.
Just poking Dwurst currently a little bit, getting him to about 60 to 70% health, but with his Fire Giant regen, it shouldn't really matter. Eager going to get this Gold Fury uncontested. Second one in the game for them, extending their goal lead a little bit, and now with all that gold in hand currently, they're just going to back, reset, and look for these last 2 remaining tier 2 towers.
3K in hand for Delta Marine. That's never good. Having a Chronos back with that much gold, there's the Rod of Tahuti online for him. So now he's sitting at, 450, 500 magical power plus
Fire Giant.
Maybe even 600 with that Fire Giant, and if he grabs this red buff as well.
That Accelerate is going to hurt a lot.
That's scary. And so we've actually seen, 3 fights ever since we looked at the Freya with 12,000 damage. She's only tacked on 3K in 3 different fights, which is not good for the person that you need to kind of be leading the charge when it comes to damage and engagements.
Especially like we mentioned, constantly you have to be sitting hand by hand with your Fafnir to give you that extra damage, but if you're going to die right off the bat, you're not going to have that synergy together. So Kingdom are going to have to adapt to the aggression from Eager, making sure they're just not too grouped up. If they are going to force out Despair in these team fights, at least make sure that they're not forcing anyone else out, because that ultimate hit 3 people, forced out double purifications.
And you could actually see Myflin, though, dealing with Niqued over in the soul lane. Both of them have self-sustain, so I don't think either of them are going to find an advantage in here. But, I mean, the teleport is online for Niqued. Tier 2 on the left falls, so only 1 more Tier 2 remaining here for Eager to knock down. It's going to be the 4-on-4 right now.
Somehow Kingdom are going to have to try to hold this. Niqued does have teleport, but electing not to use it currently. And Reacher overextended, going to drop instantly right off the bat.
Tsmall, he's going to die too. He actually does get stunned out just barely by the Xbalanque, but Dwurst looking for Despair up in the air, trying to get away, but he's chased down by 4. Sanctuary only going to buy him a couple seconds there. Myflin finds the hit. Cougar takes out Despair. And it's going to be a Phoenix and Catalyyyst also standing around by himself.
Only 1 member remaining, and that's Tsmall and Nemesis defending against 5 members from Eager with Fire Giant. This is going to be game 1 going in the way of Eager, trying to make sure that they keep that lead against Soar.
Yeah, I mean, Kingdom really just need to win one game here for Soar to be in a better spot. And, I mean, once again, though, I mean, we end on 14 to 14 in kills, but Kingdom almost had the kill lead if no one died there in the end, where we see them, like, when it comes to team fighting, they're great, but objectively, they just kept letting Eager stay in the game and find those towers and split push and kind of chase them down. So
it's all about the timing. Kingdom, they were able to get the kills early on, but Eager, they found the first 3 kills and 3 towers at the same time, and then they found the late game defense on their tier 2 tower on the solo lane side, which allowed them to get the Fire Giant immediately after.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it was a specific person on Eager that really showed, like, kind of showcased themselves and kind of clawed their team back in. It was kind of a team effort. I'd say Jellly and Myflin maybe for their engagements. Like, the double knockups is pretty hard to deal with, and we saw that specifically in that right-hand fight, but Kingdom unable to siege 3 separate tier 2s in a row. First they tried that left-hand side, then the mid, and then the right-hand side, but we have